Hey, what's up, it's Joe? Welcome to my 5 Minute Friday for March 29th. So things in my mind this week, I guess. I'll talk about this thing I posted on LinkedIn yesterday about adding business value. I think it's a constant trepidation of mine that every time I log into LinkedIn, it seems like there's always somebody, and a lot of these people are my friends, I love them to death, but I feel like I'm pretty much at an old folks home at this point where we keep like ranting about the same stuff and telling the same stories. And in this case, I think business value is one of those things that we just keep regurgitating and talking about over and over and over again. And I'm so tired of it. So the post I made yesterday, I'll just read it to you in verbatim, but it said, the data industry feels like Groundhog Day, always regurgitating the same old quote, we need to find ways to add value to the business, unquote. And then I just asked, is anyone else tired of this? And got a lot of response. And I think the response is interesting because I think a lot of people definitely supported this viewpoint. Other people were saying, well, we need to find ways to add value. And this is exactly my point I want to talk about. There's a couple threads to this. The first one is there's an inverse correlation to the amount of value that you add and the amount you need to talk about it. And then the second thread is the fact that I think we're so centered and focused on data that we lose the bigger picture, and the fact that data is an enabling thing, and that if you stop talking about data and just focus on the problem you're solving, everything else sort of falls into place, right? And let me address the first thread first. So inverse correlations. So it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you need to talk about how much value you're adding and constantly shouting it, I question the amount of value that you have to add or that you're adding. I feel like, again, the people I know who add a ton of value, they don't need to talk about it. They know they're adding value and they're not trying to convince you of that value. So if you're a data practitioner, I would urge you to look at how much you're trying to convince your business about the value that you bring to the business. And if you've been having these discussions for a long time, then I suppose either you need to reassess how you're doing things, or maybe you need to, I think, own up to the fact that you're probably not being effective at your job or the company you work at, and it's probably time to find something else. People can see right through this, and when it comes to budget time or I guess reorg time, I think you can imagine what happens next, and so get ahead of it. So I would say this is as much a litmus test to figure out if you're adding value as much as if you're not adding value. And there's no harm in not adding value. I think this is the reality for a lot of data practitioners and data teams these days, is that they were hired into situations where they're set up to fail, right? This is just how it is. I see this all the way from individual practitioners all the way up to, C-level executives who are brought in to make everything data-driven and AI-driven, and come to find out that the business doesn't seem to care after a while. So that's the first thread, right? Again, an inverse correlation with how much value that you add and how much you need to shout about the value that you are adding. And the second one is data itself. I think, and I've written about this before and talked about it, but I feel like the moment you need to start interjecting data into the conversation over and over and over again, I feel like this is also a lost cause. So, you need to be results driven, not data driven, right? And the fact that you can use data as an enabler to get results in your business, I think, is what matters. This is always how it's been. But since data has become, quote, the new oil and all this other horseshit, it's like now everyone figures that, we need to put data on a pedestal. And as I've written before and talked about extensively, the moment we can stop talking about data as a first class consideration and just focus on solving business problems, this is when you win. And again, this is when you start adding value and you don't need to talk about it because you know you're winning, right? And so anyway, it's funny. I go through these periods of getting burned out on the industry probably every 6 months. And I just woke up today and I saw some posts about, here's how we need to add value in our data organization. I'm like, nobody gives a crap about your data organization. Trust me. They give a crap about the business that your data organization exists in, right? But the company isn't a data organization. The company exists to serve the value of the things that the customer purchases from you. And the only reason that you're in business is to serve the customer and create new customers. That is literally what a business is supposed to do. If you are blind to this fact and you think that data is like sits front and center at this, I think you need to reflect on the business that you work in and the reality that you think you work in. Your customers really don't care. Data is an enabler. The business uses data to enable its functions, but data itself isn't why you're in business. And I hope that's very clear. And if you want to challenge me on this, feel free to message me. But I think you probably live in fantasy land. And yeah. So anyway, that's it. That's the rant. So I was going to rant about other things like data oceans and all this other fun stuff, but we could save that rant for another day. But yeah, I just feel like, every time I open up LinkedIn, I see these posts about it. We need to be better with our data strategy. We need to be better with serving the business and making data front and center. And I'm like, dude, that's completely the opposite way that businesses work. Businesses don't care. It's not like the CEO wakes up in the morning and says, I need to really make sure my data organization is front and center for the customer. This is not how it works. Data is the enabler, and that's it. So anyway, stop talking about value. Just go deliver it, right? And stop talking about data as well. Just put it in the back of your mind. And again, just execute. That's it. And it's just that hard too. I understand. Like in a lot of cases, you're put in a situation where it's gonna be hard. It's catch-22, but that's the reality of it. But again, I guess the litmus test is if you're having to talk a lot about value, if you haven't talked a lot about data, I think you lost. Anyway, have a good weekend. Bye.